Some people who have cancelled cruises have already had full refunds from the cruise line. Some people have been told that they're going to have to wait 60, 90, 120, all the way up to 6 months for a full refund. There is a massive variety in what is actually happening, and it's all very well knowing what the cruise line's guidelines are, but if you're anything like me, you want to know how everybody else is actually getting on with their refunds. The benchmark that I'm currently measuring cruise lines by is that the done thing at the moment seems to be 100% refund or around 125% onboard credit. That seems to be the standard. Some cruise lines are doing much more and some are doing much less. One example of somebody who had this situation and was happy with it is Grant from our Facebook group. He says, "We got an email giving us the options and an online form to process what our choice was. We picked the 100% refund so that we can rebook later when we know that things are back to normal." This is a very, very common thought from a lot of people. This is what I have personally done. I had booked a Carnival cruise. They did offer me 125% credit or 100% refund, and I did actually take the refund. If you're like me, you might be feeling as though that money is better with you. I feel like that at the moment. A lot of people do have job uncertainty at the moment. My wages have been cut at work and I'm not too sure how things are going to go in the future. So personally, I would prefer to have that money back with me, and I have requested that. Carnival have said that this is going to take between 60 and 90 days, which is a long time when you consider that normally if you were to cancel a cruise, you'd have your money back probably 5 to 10 working days is what you could expect. But at the moment, of course, they have thousands, hundreds of thousands of cruise cancellations to go through, so 60 to 90 days seems to be about standard. Even if you do opt for the refund, this is usually just your cruise fare, and it can be a little bit more difficult to get back anything else that you've paid for. One example of this is Chris from our Facebook group, who says, "Annoyingly, when they cancelled my cruise, they said that all extras, drinks, dining, excursions, etc. would be automatically refunded, but 3 weeks later they sent another email saying that the extras would be given as future cruise credit unless I filled in a form and had to wait another 60 days for this to be processed." This is quite common. The rules around cruise refunds, how long they're going to take, what you're going to get, they change pretty much every day. I have the utmost respect for anybody who works in the travel industry right now, because it is a seriously hard place to work. If you are somebody who's trying to get a refund back and is feeling quite frustrated, understandably so, is feeling quite frustrated, try not to take it out on the travel agent. Most of the time the travel agent is waiting for the cruise line, and all they can do really is kind of keep you informed. Some travel agents, of course, are doing this much better than others, but generally speaking, they're doing everything they can and they're struggling as much as anybody else. One of the worst things about trying to get a refund is how long it can take. MSC have the longest wait time by far, and they are continually changing this. MSC are a bit of a strange one because their rules for people from the US are different for people from Canada or the UK. If you're from the UK at the moment and you want to get a full refund from MSC, they're not doing that until the end of July, and then you're waiting 60 to 90 days after the end of July. So that is a full 6 months. That's a really, really long time for a refund. I do find it really strange that MSC aren't offering refunds in 60 to 90 days, the same way as all the other cruise lines are. I suppose they think if they make it more difficult for people to get refunds, that people will hang on and they'll book another MSC cruise. Unfortunately, it doesn't really seem to work like that. Some people do already have their refunds in their bank accounts right now. These tend to be people who had cruises in March, the end of March, when they started cancelling cruises. A lot of the people who have already had their refunds processed were the people who were maybe partway through their cruise when the cancellation happened. Kevin from our Facebook group says, "I was due to sail on the 8th of March, got my refund on the 6th of March and booked another holiday on the 7th of March. Kevin is in a bit of a strange situation here because he actually got to the airport gates before they cancelled his cruise, so it's a bit of a different situation. For everybody else who has a Marella cruise booked, they can reschedule those. Your next option, if you don't want a full refund, is to use the money as onboard credit. Cruise lines are giving very, very generous offers in order to try and keep you with the cruise line. A lot are offering an extra %. Some will offer a fixed fee amount onboard credit if you book again. The best one by far for doing this is Virgin Voyages. Walter, who messaged me on Twitter, said, "Our Virgin Voyages cruise was cancelled for August. We went through Delta Travel here in the UK. It took some patience and time, but Virgin offered 200% credit to rebook. We did, and we upgraded to a suite aft suite for July 2021. I think that's a great example of a cruise line trying to keep its passengers, and 200% credit. I'm not really sure that you can argue with that. If you are planning on cruising again, 200% is very, very generous. That said, other cruise lines are offering generous amounts of onboard credit and generous percents if you do book again. This is generally 125 or 150%. 200% is very, very good and not standard, but good on Virgin Voyages for doing that. A lot of people have managed to reschedule and get themselves actually on a better cruise, a longer cruise sometimes too. Graham and Jean did email me and they said they were due to cruise on the MSC Grandiosa for 7 days. Our flight to Genoa was cancelled and subsequently so was our cruise. We've been offered a request of a repositioning cruise, which was 16 days long. They accepted the offer and were given an upgrade from a suite to a yacht club duplex suite. MSC have been magnificent in their treatment of myself and my wife. I think that's a very good example of getting something more for your money. You could end up with a cruise that you didn't really plan on doing, but I've always said that cruises are magical mystery tours, and some people are ending up with very good cruises from this. You have to wait for them, which is the downside, but at the moment all we're really doing is waiting anyway, aren't we? If you're someone who can keep the money with the cruise line, that's always a nice thing to do to try and keep the industry going, if nothing else. Gavin from our Facebook group and Holidays at Sea YouTube channel, make sure you check out Gavin's channel if you haven't already. He said our first Royal Caribbean cruise for May was cancelled last night. They gave him the option of £125 future cruise credit or 100% refund. He said he took the future cruise credit and he said, well, in our minds it's money we've already spent, so we're not missing it. Just means one less cruise to fund next year. It all depends on pricing, but if we want to, there is the option to do a refund later. A lot of the cruise lines are giving you a lot of time to decide on this. Most are doing the rest of this year, some are doing all of 2021. So if you're not sure and you want to leave that there as an option, the only thing is that if you decide suddenly, oh, I do need that money, and you take it out, you're going to be waiting quite a while for it. But say you think you might cruise with Royal Caribbean again, you get to 6 months or a year's time, you haven't really found any that you want to go on, you can at that point request a refund. So there's no real time pressure right now that says you have to get a refund this month or you have to rebook this month. Almost all of the cruise lines are giving you quite a long time to rebook or to request the refunds. This is not just because they're being nice to you, although they are being nice, but they can't handle rebooking and refunding everybody right away, and it's much better for them if some people just wait. So if you are not sure what you want to do, it can be worth just waiting a little while. Of course, then the cruise line is getting interest on your money, and if you'd prefer to have it yourself. One of the things that makes this quite difficult is we don't know what's going to happen with cruise prices. Cruise prices could increase a lot, and then the 125% credit that you might have got might be worth less than the 100% that you had already. I hope that does make sense, but basically if the value of cruises does increase, you might not be able to get as much with your money as you could before this. John emailed me and he had exactly the same problem. He said, we booked a cruise with Marella for the 1st of May. According to their website, Marella are offering the chance to rebook, which I would love to do later in the year as it supports the cruise line, but we're not going to pay £1,000 extra for 2 passengers for the same cruise. I think a lot of people are having this trouble. At the moment, the cruise lines aren't focusing really on selling future cruises, so the prices could go up, the prices could come down. It really just depends how much demand there is and how many cruise lines are actually sailing at that time. John does go on to say, I will ask for a refund if they can't offer me a similar deal. I paid by credit card, so should be covered even if in the nightmare scenario they go bust. I think it's very unlikely that any of the big cruise lines will go bust. They are facing 6 months or a year without any income, which is just, for any business, almost impossible. I do worry though about some of the smaller cruise lines, the smaller British cruise lines, the smaller Greek cruise lines, but I think really only time will tell. A cruise line that I think is doing a really nice thing is Norwegian Cruise Line. Not only are they offering 100% refund, but they're also offering people a future discount on a cruise, which is really, really good. An example of this is Claire from our Facebook group, who said, NCL's cancel my September cruise, 100% refund and 20% off another cruise. We can't cancel our flights, so we might be going to Seattle for a fortnight if the border reopens. It is very, very difficult when it comes to things like flights and hotels. I normally always advise people to book packages and book through travel agents that include your flights and your hotel, because then if anything like this does happen, they're responsible for it. I didn't do this for my Carnival cruise. Sometimes I just think I can do this by myself and I don't really want to have to deal with a travel agent, and now I wish that I had, but I booked separately flights and a hotel and my Carnival cruise. The Carnival cruise will be refunded to me, nothing yet, but I can't really expect anything yet. My hotel isn't letting me cancel at the moment, but I hope that they will. I booked through booking.com, who are a very big company, and I can't imagine that they'll leave me out of pocket. I hope not. I have my flights through EasyJet too, and they have given me a voucher. I will be flying with EasyJet again, so that's fine. If you can in future book on a credit card, that does really, really help you with protection. You might be able to get a refund for certain things on your credit card, even if that thing won't give you the refund itself, if that makes sense. It's just an added layer of protection. I booked mine through PayPal, which has a similar layer of protection, so fingers crossed mine will all be alright. Pat from our Facebook group has ended up with a really nice situation here. She said she had an NCL cruise booked and they cancelled it. She was given the option of 100% refund or 125% credit, plus an additional 20% off any other cruise. So she rebooked a cruise and ended up with the cruise and a half paid in full, which is very, very nice. If you can afford to do that, you do have the flexibility and the time, definitely do that. As I said earlier, some people do already have their money back. Jeff from our Facebook group said he booked directly with Princess and his cruise was cancelled the morning of, after already arriving in Florida with a pre-hotel stay. Princess flew us back home the same day, 100% refund and a final cruise credit of equal value. Got my refund within a week. Princess have been amazing handling this situation. I think that is fantastic work from Princess there. Not only a full refund within a week, but the equal value in final cruise credit. Well done to Princess on that one. There are a lot of cruise lines and a lot of travel agents that are working ridiculously hard right now. I know it is really frustrating when you just want your money back, but at the moment all we can really do is sit and wait. I know a lot of us need the money. We're not sure what's happening with our jobs. We're not sure what's happening with our lives. Thinking about going on cruises seems very, very far away, but just be kind to travel agents, be kind to people who work in the industry, be kind to each other, look after yourself, go for a walk, eat healthy food and be okay. Nobody really knows when this is going to start up again or how it's going to affect the cruise industry. If you haven't already watched last week's video, which was about some guidelines that have already come out for the cruise industry, what we can expect on board in the future of cruising, make sure you check out that video. Thank you for watching this. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video.